softball pitch. Just go ahead.
But have you ever tried to draw a 44 Magnum from a leather holster? It takes a second. Good morning, everybody. Y'all, okay, I've got Mario back with me, and let me preface this. We're going to be talking about some absolute horror show shit today. Yesterday, though, we talked about the Iran strikes. We talked about how it's all bad. But by the end of the day yesterday, there was already some legitimate conversation about no shit ceasefire, right? In place within just a few hours after the show was over yesterday. And like I said yesterday, the best possible outcome is that we got the strike, and then there's an immediate ceasefire agreement, essentially signaling, if I had to guess, somewhere behind the scenes, the conversation was, Trump says, listen, you guys need to stop acting like assholes. You need to behave yourselves, and you need to shut down your nuke program. And Iran said, listen, our people, our citizenry will not tolerate us shutting down our nuke program. And the Donald said, okay, how about this? We'll blow it up. Then you can throw some missiles, and then we do the peace talks and the ceasefire, and everybody's got the optics they need for the citizens. We get the nukes off the table, and you get to sit down and shut the fuck up, or we're going to blow you up a lot more. So they go ceasefire. And then apparently right after the ceasefire, Iran and Israel both attacked each other again. And this morning, the Donald has some words. Like, oh, come on now. That was supposed to be a more smooth transition, but, live is hard mode.
You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I understand that. That is exactly correct. I wouldn't honestly, Mario, I wouldn't even call that a hot take. You know what that smells like to me?
Frustration.
Trump's first administration was one of the most effective, best presidential administrations in history, right up until COVID, which was clearly organized, orchestrated, and intentionally executed as an attack against American sovereignty and election security. The one thing that I have been hypercritical of the Donald about from his first administration was the bump stock ban. And I have said over and over again, I think what happened there is the Donald made the mistake of operating, because remember, that was pretty early in his first administration. He made the mistake of operating under the assumption that there are decent people who are in government and that you can treat with them in good faith and fairly. And he learned, oh, I was wrong about that. They're all a bunch of monstrous assholes. And if you give them an inch, they'll cut your dick off. Yeah. I think he learned that lesson. And I think that with the executive orders and many of the actions that he's taken since he began this second administration, he has shown that he learned that lesson well and has applied his incredible political capital to take actions that reflect his having learned that, you know what, when you're dealing with American politicians, they're all trash bags. You can't trust any of them, and you have to treat them like they are hostile engagers. This commentary that we just listened to tells me that he has just had the same revelation about all the desert rats, Iran and Israel.
Yeah, that's agreed. I didn't get enough sleep last night, guys, so pardon me. I'm going to be dragging ass a little bit this morning. But yeah, I mean, that's something I learned.
Your hair looks great.
So, I mean, I learned that. I learned that basically. I was basically did political white cell analysis. Okay, in Iraq, doing the character profile. Doing massive Fourth Amendment violation of senior figures in the Iraqi military, Iraqi politics. Okay, that was my job in Iraq. And one thing I figured out pretty quickly is if you try to get involved, okay, try to put yourself in between like desert people who are fighting or having a skirmish, you're going to end up with basically you're going to get stabbed in the back and stabbed in the front. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Getting involved in the affairs of these people will only result in your loss, your net loss. All right.
Yeah, we ran into a problem.
Without exception.
We ran into a problem with a local national police department in I'm not going to name the city. We were about an hour north of Kandahar when this one went down. Had a massive problem with the local police department being infiltrated by Al Qaeda, and when I got to it, there was an investigation being conducted to try and root out who the actual Al Qaeda agents were that were infecting the police department and leaking information to the enemy, et cetera, et cetera. And I got there and we looked at it for a minute and I said, you can't sort this mess out. I have a solution.
Fire them all.
And so what we did is we killed all the police and hired new ones.
That's how you fire them. That's how you fire people in the fourth world.
Yeah.
You kill them.
Yeah. We just buried them all. We just buried them all and replaced them.
So yeah, my hot take on it. I saw yesterday that the ceasefire was declared. Okay, I haven't heard. I woke up just a few minutes ago. I didn't even check the news this morning. I don't know what's going on with the breach of the ceasefire. I assume Israel tried to get in there one last cheap shot and probably drop one more missile.
It looks like what happened is Israel and Iran both had planes in the air and. Or missiles in the air. Basically, they both had their one last attack, like launched, and then the ceasefire was declared, and then it was too late to call them back.
Sure, it was. It's not how it works. I mean, if you launch a missile, yeah, it's too late at that point. Okay, but I mean, if you got a sortie like in the air, you can call that shit back at any time. All right.
That's.
Well, hopefully they don't blow it all up. But yeah, you can see. You're right. The way this all worked out, and no, I'm not going to apologize for anything I said. Okay.
Absolutely not.
I'm glad this worked out. I'm glad this worked out somewhat peaceably. Okay, it looks like we have some sort of agreement here. That's a good thing. Okay. But I think if it falls apart, then I hope Donald finally takes that black pill, okay, of relations between these Semitic peoples, be they Jews or be they Arabs, okay, or Persians. All right. Sticking your foot in the middle of it won't do you any favors. All right. And in the end, you'll be blamed. You will be blamed. It will somehow all be your fault in the end. All right. If you keep getting involved and keep trying to force people who hate each other on an existential level to play nice. All right. Iran cannot forgive Israel. All right. Let's be honest. It's unforgivable what Israel did from an Iranian perspective. It's unforgivable. They Pearl Harbored the shit out of them. All right. They're not going to forget that. They're never going to forget that.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's the latest outrage in a long series of outrages, right, between the two of them that will never really truly be resolved until one side is exterminated. So,
but I think Trump just summed it all up very nicely. We're talking about a bunch of people who've been fighting each other for so long that nobody knows what the fuck they're doing.
Yep. Now, my other take on this, okay, and this is coming. It's going to be coming from like the MAGA content creators, okay, the MAGA influencers, if you will. That and like now we're supposed to all pretend that this was great. Okay, we're supposed to just pretend this is all okay. Nothing to see here anymore. No reason to squabble amongst each other. No reason to have a rift amongst the MAGA movement. All right, but I get it. But the thing is, I don't think any lessons were learned here. All right, my concern is that this will embolden Israel to attempt an even more provocative action next time. That Bibi Netanyahu is 2 votes shy of maintaining a government. Okay. I believe the next general election in Israel is in October of 2026. So perhaps we have a year where we can avoid getting involved with these, with these bad faith actors. But I don't know. And then like the media literacy aspect of this, okay, within the MAGA movement, all right. My prediction is that today and within the next 24 hours, like the MAGA media influencers who criticize Trump's actions, all right, and basically who were downright angry, downright pissed, that they're going to be like sullied. They'll now be counterattacked by the people who just straight up, who just shill for Donald no matter what. Okay, there are those people who are just going to shill for Donald Trump no matter what, and then there are people who love Trump when he's being Trump, and who hate Trump when he's being a neocon piece of shit like John Bolton. Okay, that would be me. All right, and the anger over Trump enacting the foreign policy will of Israel will be overshadowed by the see nothing bad happened, guys. We can trust the plan, trust the Donald. Okay, we won. And but nothing prevents this gambit from occurring again. If anything, it just guarantees that it will occur again. You know what I mean? So that's my concern. It's like I guess we got out of this without any major disasters. Does that guarantee future returns on such behavior? No, it doesn't. I hope Trump learns from. I hope. Oh, it's all I can do. All I can do is pray that Trump learned something here, okay, and that he didn't learn the wrong lesson. So,
right.
Anyway.
All right. So I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on this. We're already 13 minutes in, but I definitely wanted to address it because we got the Donald dropping the F-bomb live, and I love that when it's like this. That's excellent. And it does sound like he learned a lesson, and that lesson is everybody in the Middle East are assholes. Everybody. So, yeah. And I definitely wanted the commentary with the F-bomb drop for the shorts that I'm going to cut out of this later this afternoon. So, what are we talking about this morning? For real, Mario, we're talking about the French Music Festival.
Yeah.
With 12 unknown, unidentified suspects. It's interesting that the suspects who have been arrested are unidentified. And okay, fair play. They don't have ID cards on them. You don't know what their names are. You got pictures.
You know who they are. By the way, this is in France. All right, in case you guys didn't. In case we didn't mention
18
it.
girls
Okay?
among 145 stabbed with syringes across France.
Here, I gotta blow my nose.
Popular music festival. Say again? Okay. So, nearly 150 concert goers, many of them teenage girls, were jabbed with syringes in a bizarre attacks at a nationwide music festival in France on Saturday. And a dozen suspects have been nabbed in connection with the disturbing barrage, according to officials. So, local and national law enforcement are investigating the wave of deranged incidents in which suspects wielding syringes with unknown contents jabbed 145 victims at the popular Fête de la Musique, or World Music Day, celebrations across the country, causing several to be hospitalized. What are you noticing about this story so far, Mario?
Well, the old adage, you invite the third world, you become the third world, right? Well, and yeah, I don't know if you show the video of the crowds, but the majority of the people at this fest, okay, whether it was the one in Metz or the one in Paris, both of which where attacks occurred, they're not French, okay? They're not. It's not even remotely French. The people in the streets, all right? Invite the third world, become the third world, but actually, it's worse. It's worse. I liken France to a fourth world country. Okay, why is that? Because at least in a third world country, the criminal justice system is designed for dealing with third world people. You understand? Like, you have the police are going to be brutal. Your criminal justice system is going to be harsh and extreme. Okay, the death penalty is going to be wielded, pretty much cavalierly in dealing with a hostile third world, low IQ, high testosterone population. All right. That's third world people require third world justice. All right, like we talked about yesterday, how just areas in the Middle East they kind of unfortunately need that strong man leader. They can't do representative Republican democracy. Okay, um, now what you have in France is you have basically third world people, and you're attempting to govern them and discipline them, control them with the first world with first world with high civilization, high trust civilization rules and laws and a justice system. Okay, these fucking savages, if you give them a court summons and let them out on parole or let them out on bail, in their simple, pathetic, primitive minds, they got away with it like nothing happened to them. You understand? Like there's no these people. What is to be done about France at this point? You know, it's the most diverse, most gene seed corrupted and ruined country in Europe.
Yeah, I mean,
if you
look at this photo from the look at this still image of video from the music.
It's fucking. I'm looking at a street in Senegal. Okay, that is not France. That is not Paris. That is a street.
That's diverse as hell. I don't see a single white person in the image.
There's no diversity. Okay, that is a street in Senegal that exists in France. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you're gonna solve this problem at this point, like, first of all, the French electoral system, there clearly is something wrong with it. Clearly, the public. Well, I know that the French boomers are far, far, far worse than our boomers. Okay, like they're borderline fucking retarded. Like they cannot. They have that mental trap in their mind where if they vote for the right, then that means the Nazis are coming back or some retarded shit like that. Let me tell you something. Paris under Nazi occupation was a safer and more beautiful place than France right now under Macron, under globalism and diversity. Okay, you are safer. You would be safer. A young woman would be safer walking down the street in Nazi occupied Paris than present day Paris.
And I've already alluded to this a little bit.
No question.
The article says, I've already alluded to this a little bit. The article, of course, says that their unidentified assailants have been arrested, taken into custody. But there's no description. There's no, young men, old men. Are they black? Are they white? Et cetera, et cetera. If there's no description, you know something already. But
Coulter's law.
Even in this news video, and even in this news video from the Times of India that we're using to show some of the images from the scene, this right here, this is obviously stock footage.
Yeah,
this is something that they downloaded from like Storyblocks or something. And of course, what you have is a pair of white hands with some tattoos on the knuckles and handcuffs, and clearly the law enforcement officer is black. And I guarantee you 100% this is not what it looks like where they've actually arrested people in
the exact opposite
connection with this event.
Well, Coulter's law applies to Europe as well.
Okay? Correct.
If the suspect doesn't say,
if the headline doesn't say white male, then the only thing you can know is that it's not a white male.
The suspect is not white. Yeah. Now,
and there's a low possibility that the suspect is like Chinese or Japanese.
It would, yeah. No, it's African or Middle Eastern, 100%. Okay, probably African. Now, the whole like stabbing people with syringes, that's prison. That's prison behavior. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's utterly fucking subhuman that someone would do that. Absolutely It should be death, instant, automatic, summary execution, right there in the street, no trial. That's how the police should be handling this. And let's be honest. The thing about France is the French president actually has a lot more power. Okay, in what he can do domestically. Versus against his own subjects, if you will, than our president does. Okay,
yes.
President of France could deploy the military on the streets and tell them basically just start rounding them up. Okay, EU laws be damned. France is like basically the second largest contributor to the EU budget. They can do whatever the fuck they want. Okay, they can break the rules if they want to, and that's really what has to happen at this point. You can no longer vote your way out of this now. Okay, not that they could to begin with. All right, because I don't know. I don't understand the mentality of the French and why they are so allergic to a right-wing government, when in fact they have needed a right-wing government for 25 years at least. 25 years ago, they could have, if they had got a proper government in place that actually cared about the sovereignty of France, that cared about the French people, okay, that basically gave a shit and didn't subscribe to like pie in the sky diversity globalist shibboleths and shit. This could have been turned around. I was in France in 2003. It was, I mean, Paris was a shithole, but outside of Paris, it wasn't. Paris and Marseille were shitholes, but outside of that, it was a nice place. Okay, I enjoyed it. I kind of look like the French, unfortunately. I'm kind of that like that blend of Anglo, Celtic, and Italian. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's basically what the French are. But at this point, yeah. The army needs to be called into the street. The whole country needs to be put on martial law, and people just need to be snatched up off the street with no fucking due process and kicked the hell out. And if they resist, kill them. Just kill them.
And like, so here's an image from the festival before everything went down. This is a free music festival that this is one of those shut down the streets, party all over town, free music festival things. I've been to big music festivals, Ozfest, Big Day Out. I even saw James Brown at a free concert in Savannah. And, I had a lot of fun with that when I was younger, but that is definitely the kind of thing that I'm going to keep my children from being involved in. And it was safer. It was a different world 20 years ago when I was doing that shit.
But even still, even then, okay, because we've had the blessings of diversity for much longer than Europe has. Okay, we've always, America has always.
Well,
there's always been a black population, okay, and there's always been problems with the black population and their social pathologies, okay, and then starting in 1965, we started having to absorb the pathologies of the rest of the world, all right, the rest of the third world. So, you and I, born in 1980, 1981, all right, we were already born into a world where diversity was real, and it was already obviously a problem, all right, even kids like us could figure out like, anytime I'm around all these black people, they're mean to me and they're angry and loud and threatening me with violence. I don't understand, but I do now, but yeah, you should know anything that is public and free with diversity, that's all you need to know. You should probably stay the fuck away from it.
Forget just a second about the diversity angle.
Even my coffee.
This could be 100% white people, but you've got 100 people per 10 square feet crammed together for miles and miles. I mean, there's just no way. There's hell no. Hell no. You are one shove, trip, or fumble away from getting trampled to death in that crowd. There is no way. There is no physical security, no personal security, operational security. It's just your risk of injury in that kind of a situation is just beyond the pale. There's absolutely no way.
And you're in France, so you need to be thinking like, trucks of peace could suddenly appear. You know what I mean?
Exactly. We've only had a handful of love truck attacks in the U.S. Because and frankly, that's because usually festivals like this in the U.S. are in places that are difficult to access by vehicle. Even when they're in the downtown area, the streets are blocked off with police cars so that nobody can just drive in. They're not real good about doing that in Europe. Not a security minded people. So you
also medieval street patterns. Okay, it's simply more difficult.
Yes,
correct. You know what I mean? It's not like a grid layout.
Correct. So yeah, especially circa 2015, 2016, 17, we saw huge numbers of love truck attacks. And, we're not even talking, if you think back and remember those, some of them were, but most of them weren't even like V-bit IEDs. Most of them were just drive a big heavy truck into the crowd and plow into and run over and kill as many people as possible.
It was coinciding with the height of ISIS.
Them over with trucks.
At the height of ISIS's reign of terror. That's when that was the greatest preponderance of that in Europe.
So yeah, 2013, 14, 15. Because when Donald Trump came into office his first term at the beginning of 2017, he shut ISIS down. Overnight, ISIS just disappeared.
Yeah, and we worked with Russia to do it.
Yes. We worked with Russia and used a lot of drone strikes and put bodies in the mud, because that is what you have to do with terrorists.
Yeah. It's a rare moment of Russo-American cooperation. Okay, which has been squandered, sadly.
Yep.
But yeah. So yeah. Martial law. You know what? How about this? You guys, you fucking sick fucks in the Pentagon, State Department, you really want some regime change? How about Europe? Maybe we should declare war against France. Maybe we should declare war against the United Kingdom, against Germany. Okay, I mean these are the three worst examples in Europe of governments that apparently hate their own people and want to exterminate their own people by any means possible. Okay.
I would go so far as to say under the UN Charter of Human Rights.
Yeah, and under the definition of genocide, okay, we can invade. Yeah, we have a right, we have a moral obligation, even, all right, to invade these.
We have a treaty. We have a treaty-bound obligation to declare war on the UN, according to the UN.
Right. Yeah, we have a duty to declare war on France to save France. Okay.
And Germany.
Why don't we do that? And Germany and the UK, any NATO partner. Okay.
Any NATO partner who has jailed a person for making an untasteful comment on social media.
Yeah.
We should be dropping JDAMs on
putting a father
London, on Berlin, on Paris.
Yeah, if you put a father of a newborn baby in jail for 2 years for putting a sticker, for printing stickers, yeah, you have, that's it, regime change.
Yeah,
that's all you need to know.
And hey, this is not our considered opinion here on the Brushfire Mind. This is the rules of the UN.
But yeah, let's bomb the banlieue, all right, around French cities, all right. Wipe out some of the population there. Move in. I bet. You know what? What do you think? It's really hard to say, and there's no way to know until the boots were actually on the ground. What percentage do you think of the European? What percentage do you think of the French population, British population, German population would actually
welcome us as liberators?
Just kind of welcome us? How much of the police do you think would just defect? And or their military would defect and just be like, yeah, absolutely, just turn right around, turn our guns on our own government. How many? I don't know. Hard to say. They live in a controlled media environment. They don't have like a free press. They don't have their internet is not nearly as free as ours. Okay, so there's a good chance that the majority of them are simply brainwashed to not even understand the reality of their situation. Okay, entirely likely. But I don't know. I tend to think Britain, the majority of white British would probably side with us as liberators, just because of the shared history and shared language.
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted in 1948, set forth set the foundation for the development of the corpus of international human rights law. Human rights and obligations are set forth in a series of treaties and other documents, and their implementation is supported and monitored through the system of treaty bodies. In the declaration of the high-level meeting on the rule of law, member states reaffirmed commitment to fulfill their obligations to promote universal respect for and the observance and protection of all human rights and fundamental freedoms for all. They noted that the universal nature of these rights and freedoms is beyond question. And you will hear often when they're criticized about their about how badly they treat free speech rights. The Brits, the Germans, the French, they'll all say, well, hate speech isn't free speech. You can shut your damn mouths, because absolutely.
Yeah. Pit Danny says in the chat, I think what she's implying here is you want regime change in France, but not regime change in Iran. Yes, that's correct. Okay.
Correct.
Because the Persian Empire has not been the concern of my ancestors for 2 millennia. Okay. France is my problem now. Okay. France is part of my civilization, and my civilization is dying. So yes, regime change for France. That actually matters to me. I'm not opposed to regime change. I just want it to be something that is important for us. Okay. Not for them. If you catch my drift.
I do indeed. All right. I do need to go ahead and button this up, because I gotta
start work at I have to start work at 8:30 every morning this week. So yeah, we're gonna have
some short shows this week.
Shorter shows, I'm afraid.
I am gonna try to do a few evening shows this week. They're all gonna be about the same subject matter. I'm going to try to get. I've been working on putting together all the information into a relatable format so that I can get it out to you guys. I don't think I'll have one this afternoon. I'll still be working on the actual formatting this afternoon. Maybe this evening I'll do a show all about this. Yeah,
I like that. I like that surreal jump cut. It's pretty good. And the music kicks in. That's quality.
Yeah,
I mean it's AI slop, but it's good AI slop. Okay,
it is. I'm going to be working on the on telling the story of Carvana and why nobody ever should do business with Carvana. And maybe what I really ought to do is create a separate @brushfiremind.com website, or I'm sorry, email address that's called like fuckcarvana @brushfiremind.com to collect enough stories about the inadequacy and failures and fraud of that company to build a class action lawsuit.
Dare I say it? But perhaps Reddit might be a good place to find such stories.
I hate to say it, but you're probably not wrong. So look forward to some of that coming up this week, guys. Like I said, I might be able to get one out this evening, probably tomorrow evening. And I'm going to be cutting the absolute dog shit out of some shorts out of that stuff. I'm going as wide and viral as I can with "You should never ever do business with Carvana."
So, and in other news, what'll be this Saturday? What are we doing? Kosher Nostra? Is it going down for real? Kosher Nostra style?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
You're gonna have to brief me. I'm gonna have to do a little research and get myself smart on it, and we'll. That sounds like a fun show to do.
What if we told you that the Italian mafia isn't really Italian?
Ooh.
Piqued your interest.
All right. So y'all be safe. We'll y'all be safe out there. Thanks for watching today. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Ciao.
Yeah, and I'm gonna let that background
No,
pop.
kosher, Aaron, kosher. Okay.
Yeah. You're missing a pun there, Aaron. Get it together, man.
Yeah. You of all people.
Don't be good.